Hello and welcome everyone. So I will be taking the last topic of hemorrhagic disorders, and it is a very important topic, disseminated intravascular coagulation. So disseminated intravascular coagulation, as the name is suggesting, it is disseminated, means it is widespread. Intravascular, that means it is occurring within the blood vessels. And what is happening? Coagulation. So clotting is happening within the blood vessels throughout our body. So that's why its name is disseminated intravascular coagulation. So this disorder, it is not a primary disease. You should remember that it is not a primary disease, but it is a complication of various other disorders, various other diseases. For example, many obstetric complications is a complication of many malignancies and trauma and snake bite. So there are many primary events which are happening and that are leading to DIC, in which there is the activation of the coagulation system, and it is excessive activation, because of which there is formation of microthrombi in the microvasculature of the body, and that will leads to various effects. So if thrombi are in the microvasculature of the body, so they can occlude the blood vessels and they can cause ischemic effects and various other adverse effects. And this disorder is, it can either be acute, it can be subacute or chronic. And this disorder is also thrombohemorrhagic disorder. It means that there is formation of thrombus, and also there can be hemorrhage or bleeding. So the thrombus is occurring because there is excessive activation of coagulation, and the hemorrhage is occurring because of the excessive clot formation. There is consumption coagulopathy. So there is formation of clots all over the body, because of which the clotting factors and the platelets also, they get consumed. Because in the formation of clot, initially there is platelet plug formation. So when there is widespread clot formation, that will lead to thrombocytopenia also, because there is consumption coagulopathy. So it is a thrombohemorrhagic disorder. Thrombus will form and also bleeding will occur from the various orifices in our body. So in all the primary events, all the primary disorders, there is a single common factor, which is the systemic activation of thrombin. And you know that thrombin causes the conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin, and ultimately the clot is formed. And with the help of factor 13, the clot becomes stabilized. So whenever there is DIC, there is activation of coagulation, excessive activation, and that will lead to formation of microthrombi in the circulation. And there are two major mechanisms that trigger DIC. So because of the various primary events, in the various primary events, there are certain common pathogenetic mechanisms that are happening and leading to DIC. So first is a release of tissue factor, which is factor 3, or any other procoagulant into the circulation, and other factor is injury of the endothelial cells. So for example, in the obstetric complications like abruptio placentae, the placenta can be a source of tissue factor, and that can lead to activation of the coagulation. And in certain adenocarcinomas, they can be mucin secreting adenocarcinomas, and that mucin can also act as a procoagulant, and it can activate factor 10 directly. And if whenever there is injury of endothelial cells, we know that the hemostatic mechanisms start to act and they form the clots. So these are the two mechanisms which can be seen in all the primary disorders which are leading to DIC. So this is a flow chart which is showing the sequence of events happening in DIC. So there will be a primary event or a primary disease. This is the precipitating event that will cause the activation of extrinsic pathway by means of the tissue factor. So this is a procoagulant mechanism that is acting, and that will lead to activation of the coagulation cascade. Then excessive thrombin will form, and it will cause the increased clotting. So increased clotting in the microvasculature of body will occur, and because there is increased clot, there is increased primary platelet plug formation also, so there will be thrombocytopenia. Other than that, there will be also clotting in the large vessels, macrovascular clotting, and consumption of clotting factors. And whenever there is clotting in our body, we know that there is also activation of the plasmin system, the fibrinolysis system. So in the fibrinolysis system, there will be first of all activation of plasminogen, which will convert to plasmin. This plasmin will cause degradation of fibrin and fibrinogen to the fibrin degradation products, and that will also lead to excess bleeding. So whenever there is excess clotting, it can lead to adverse effects like ischemia, because the vessels are occluded by the clots. They can lead to decreased oxygen supply to the various organs, then impaired organ perfusion and end organ damage ultimately, and can lead to death also. And excessive bleeding will lead to shock, hypotension, and increased vascular permeability. Now in the pathogenesis, as I already explained to you, there is widespread thrombosis, formation of microthrombi, and leads to consumption coagulopathy. You have to remember this term. Consumption coagulopathy means there is consumption of the coagulation factors as well as the consumption of platelets. So because of that, all of these decrease in the body. Platelets, clotting factors, fibrinogen, all they will decrease in the body, and the platelets, when they decrease, they lead to thrombocytopenia, and that is also another cause of bleeding that will occur in the case of DIC. Then there is activation of fibrinolytic system, that will cause the conversion of fibrinogen and fibrin to fibrinogen and fibrin degradation products known as FDPs. And FDPs are also markers of DIC. They are very sensitive marker of DIC, to diagnose DIC. And especially the important FDP is D-dimer, which is very frequently used to diagnose DIC. Now DIC, when it is there, it will present as either hypoxia or infarction of any organ and bleeding, and ultimately there can be multiple organ failure, which can be threatening to the life. So this image which I have taken, it shows that there can be widespread clotting, and also when the clotting factors are depleted, that can lead to bleeding. So it is a thrombohemorrhagic disorder, and there is coagulation which is occurring in the body, but paradoxical bleeding can also occur. Now next, the primary events, which I was talking about, the primary events which are leading to DIC. So what are those primary events or the primary disorders? So first is obstetric complication, very common cause, like abruptio placentae, intrauterine death of the fetus, which will cause release of the procoagulant which are derived from the placenta, or dead fetus, or amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid embolism is another cause for DIC. Then infections like meningococcus, rickettsia. So whenever there is sepsis will cause the stimulation of tuber necrosis factor, which inhibits the thrombomodulin. So it increases the procoagulant effect of thrombin. Then neoplasms like mucin secreting adenocarcinomas, where mucin can act as a procoagulant. So next important cause is acute leukemia, and in the FAB classification, AML M3, it particularly causes DIC. So this comes in a MCQ. So promyelocytic leukemia or AML M3 can lead to disseminated intravascular coagulation. Then in SLE, there are antigen antibody complexes that can lead to endothelial injury. So subendothelial collagen will be exposed and lead to clotting. Then massive tissue injury in case of trauma or some surgery, burns, heat stroke, all they can also lead to DIC. And in the miscellaneous causes, snake bite. So snake bite can also lead to DIC. Snake bite can cause DIC by various hemotoxins. So this is a mnemonic to learn the causes of DIC, which I have taken from rxpg.com, and it is S3 BP H2O, sepsis, shock, and snake bite. So S3 BP is burns, promyelocytic leukemia, and H2O is heat stroke, hemolytic transfusion reaction. Then O stands for obstetric emergency like abruptio placentae, amniotic fluid embolism, So by this mnemonic you can learn the causes of DIC to write in the answer. Next we come to pathogenesis. This is from the Robbins. So whenever there are primary events like massive tissue destruction, which will cause release of tissue factor, then products of conception, which will act as procoagulant, and sepsis, which will release the TNF, then endothelial injury, which will expose the subendothelial collagen, and there will be the release of procoagulants and tissue factors, which will cause widespread microvascular thrombosis. And whenever there is thrombosis, there can be vascular occlusion. When there is vascular occlusion, there can be injury to the trauma to the RBCs also, that can lead to microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, which is called MAHA, and there can be ischemic tissue damage and ischemia of the various organs. And the other effect will be consumption coagulopathy, which is consumption of the clotting factors and platelets, and when the platelets are consumed, there will be thrombocytopenia leading to the bleeding. Then whenever there is coagulation in the body, there is always the activation of the fibrinolytic system. So plasmin will be activated, which will cause conversion of fibrin to fibrin split products, and that will also in turn cause the inhibition of thrombin and platelet aggregation and fibrin polymerization. It will try to control the coagulation, and that can also lead to bleeding. So there is simultaneous bleeding and coagulation which can take place in DIC, and you should know the mechanism how the bleeding is occurring and how the clotting is occurring in DIC. Next, clinically, so various presentations can be there. They can present with thrombosis, they can present with bleeding, and they can present with microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. They can present with dyspnea, cyanosis, respiratory failure, convulsions and coma, and oliguria, acute renal failure, and sudden or progressive circulatory failure or shock. So these are the various manifestations of the bleeding and thrombosis which is occurring in DIC. Generally, acute DIC is present with bleeding complication, while chronic DIC they present with thrombotic complications. This is an image of microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. You can see these are the red blood cells having a central pallor, and these are schistocytes, which are fragmented RBCs seen in microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, and they don't have any central pallor, and they are of various shapes. So like these are schistocytes. All these fragmented RBCs, they are schistocytes, and they are seen in microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, so they can be seen in DIC. And in morphology, they can be bilateral cortical necrosis, renal cortical necrosis, then numerous fibrin thrombi in the lungs. They can lead to formation of hyaline membranes. In CNS, they can form infarcts, they can cause CNS bleeding, and in meningococcemia caused by Neisseria meningitidis, the fibrin thrombi they can form within the microcirculation of adrenal cortex, and there can be massive hemorrhage in the adrenal glands, and which is known as Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. So this is important. Then giant hemangiomas like Kasabach-Merritt syndrome, they can be stasis and trauma to the fragile blood vessels, which can lead to formation of thrombi within the lesion. So next we come to lab investigation, and as we have studied about the pathogenesis, now it is easy to understand the lab investigation. Now we should remember that no single test can diagnose DIC. We have to take in mind all the clinical presentation, the underlying cause, and then we correlate it with various lab investigation. So first is peripheral blood film, which can show schistocytes, it can show thrombocytopenia, and platelet count will be decreased, thrombocytopenia. Prothrombin time and activated partial thromboplastin time both will be increased because there is coagulation going on, and all the intrinsic and extrinsic pathway it is involved. Then bleeding time will be increased since there is thrombocytopenia, and protein C antithrombin 3. So these are anticoagulation, and they cause anticoagulation. They are decreased. Then fibrin degradation products will be increased, and specifically in fibrin degradation product, we measure D-dimer. So it is a very sensitive marker for DIC, and if it comes negative or it is not increased, then we can doubt the diagnosis of DIC. In the treatment, basically we treat the underlying cause, and factor replacement can be done with the help of cryoprecipitate fresh frozen plasma, and if there is severe thrombocytopenia, platelet replacement can be done. Now there are two questions, two examples based on DIC. So 60-year-old male has developed widespread ecchymosis over the skin. So there is a bleeding manifestation. And his medical history includes the diagnosis of mucinous adenocarcinoma. So they have given a hint that there is mucinous adenocarcinoma of the rectum. On physical examination, he appears cachectic and pale. Abdominal CT scan shows multiple hepatic masses. So there is a tumor. Nebulity study shows prothrombin time of 30 seconds, which is prolonged. Partial thromboplastin time of 55 seconds, which is again prolonged. Normal PT is like 11 to 15 seconds, and normal APTT is 30 to 45 seconds, so both are prolonged. Platelet count normal is 1.5 lakh to 4 lakh per cubic millimeter, so it is decreased. So there is thrombocytopenia. Fibrinogen levels, they are also decreased. Fibrin split product levels, D dimer, are very much elevated. Which of the following morphologic findings is likely to present on the examination of his peripheral blood smear? So first we have to make the diagnosis. So they have given that he has mucinous adenocarcinoma, and PT is increased, APTT is increased, platelets are decreased, fibrinogen is decreased, D dimer is very much elevated. So it makes a diagnosis of DIC. So based on our diagnosis, we will choose the option. In the peripheral smear, we will see schistocytes in case of DIC. So the answer is schistocytes. Next, 23-year-old woman in her 25th week of pregnancy has felt no fetal movement. So there is no fetal movement in the past 3 days. So it's case of intrauterine death of the fetus. After 3 weeks, she has not given birth and suddenly develops dyspnea and cyanosis. So she has dyspnea, cyanosis. Physical examination, her temperature is 36.9, pulse is bit raised, respiratory rate is also 21 per minute, and BP is decreased. So she has hypotension. She has large ecchymotic patches over the skin of her entire body. Stool sample is positive for blood. So she is also bleeding. Lab study shows elevated prothrombin time and PTT. So both PTT and APTT, they are prolonged. Platelet count is decreased again. Plasma fibrinogen level is markedly decreased, and fibrin split products are detected. So basically it is giving a clue of consumption coagulopathy, where the coagulation factors, they are decreased. So APTT and PT both are prolonged, and platelets are decreased, so platelet count is decreased, thrombocytopenia. Now blood culture is negative. They want to say that there is no sepsis, but here they have given the clue that there is intrauterine death of the fetus. Which of the following is most likely cause of the bleeding? So basically it is because of DIC, which is occurring because of the intrauterine death. So intrauterine death will release certain procoagulant factors like tissue thromboplastin, and that will cause the activated coagulation in the body. So amongst these option D, increased consumption of clotting factors and platelets. This is happening in the body. So this is the most likely cause of this bleeding diathesis, which is DIC. Causes for DIC are anaerobic sepsis, right? Malignancy, yes, especially mucin secreting adenocarcinomas. Then not lymphomas. Leukemia, yes, especially AML, M3, and also massive blood transfusion. So these are the causes of DIC. In DIC, which is seen is or are. So normal APTT, no, there is prolonged APTT. Increased PT, yes. Increased factor 8, no, because there is consumption coagulopathy, decreased factors are there. Decreased fibrinogen, yes. Decreased platelets, yes. DIC is seen in acute promyelocytic leukemia, true. Acute myelomonocytic leukemia, no. CML, no. Autoimmune hemolytic anemia, no. So answer is APML. So this was all about DIC, and any queries you can post in the comment section. Thank you very much.